Hey everybody, this is the Mind of Lilith, and thank you for joining me today. I wanted to quickly share my thoughts about the goings on in Love and Marriage Huntsville. More specifically, Tisha and Marsau's marriage. Apparently, it came out at some point in the recent past that Marsau had a threesome with two women that were not his wife. And this is allegedly what happened. And this information was revealed to someone close to Kiki and her makeup artist. And, this news is not really surprising to me. I don't feel like it vindicates Melody, to be honest, because I never believed that Melody was lying about Marsau being a cheater. And in the past episode, episode 21 of season 6, Marsau did something to Tisha that I had not seen him do before, or it was very rare for him to express himself in this way towards Tisha. If you guys remember the scene where Marsau and Tisha were talking about all their troubles and the stresses of dealing with social media and other people in their business, at the end of that scene, Marsau did something to Tisha that I had never seen him do before. I don't remember him doing before. And he slapped Tisha on her bottom. And she was like, "Why did you do that?" Now, this is the same guy that had a very difficult time showing his wife affection on camera. The same guy who didn't want to renew his vows in Las Vegas. He is now slapping her on the booty and flirting with her. And I think that he was doing that because more than likely the rumors are true. And he was trying to smooth things over and make her feel better, and kind of sort of apologize to her by doing something macho, by slapping her on the butt to make it seem as if he's still attracted to her. In spite of all the allegations of him having a threesome with two other women that's not his wife, okay? Now I'm going to say this. If this is true, and Marsau did have a threesome with two other women that weren't his wife, this doesn't make me happy. I'm not happy about this. I'm not going to gloat about this because of the way that Tisha treated Melody. The reason why I had an issue with Tisha and the way she treated Melody was because Tisha pretended, in my mind, she pretended as if she didn't know what it was like to be cheated on. And unfortunately, during the end of Melody's very tumultuous marriage, Tisha did not extend any patience to her. No grace, no compassion, and no empathy, which I felt was especially egregious because I know for a fact, not for a fact, I'm almost certain that Marsau was cheating on Tisha way before they met the Holts, okay? If you guys remember, I think in season 1 or 2, when they went on that cabin retreat, Melody stated that as soon as Martel started hanging out with Marsau and Maurice, his behavior changed. If you guys remember, Martel also kept saying that he wished Melody were more like Tisha. I honestly think that before the show started, the cast members probably agreed to not talk about certain topics, okay? And if I were them, I would probably do the same thing. I don't want to talk about this person or that subject. Let's let this show me what it is, and I don't want it to be too intrusive in my private life. And they have the right to do that. I think that Martel assumed that Melody would not expose his affair because by doing so, Melody was forcing herself to hold Martel accountable for his actions. Melody did not want to make it comfortable for Martel to cheat by keeping his infidelity a secret. However, I think that is what Tisha chose to do. I think Tisha chose to pretend that Marsau had never cheated on her before, and he was a good, faithful man, and she don't know what it's like to be cheated on. She don't have any experience with that. And I remember how aggravated that made Melody when they were at that retreat. Tisha was like, "I don't know what it's like to be cheated on. My mom didn't go through that. I don't have any experience with that. So, I don't know what it's like." And then Melody was like, "Girl, what are you talking about?" Tisha had the right to want to protect her marriage, however dysfunctional it was. Just like Melody had the right to expose Martel for his infidelity in order to force him to kind of act right. Martel resented Melody because she wasn't like Tisha. and she wasn't going to hide his infidelity so that it's easier for him to keep on cheating. And if you guys remember when they went to Las Vegas after the divorce was finalized and they were all talking about the end of the Holtz marriage, Marsau said that Martel was comparing himself to other men, and those other men were him. Martel was comparing himself to men who had wives who were okay with their husbands cheating. And that made Martel extra angry because Martel felt like he was a better man than the men who were allowed to have multiple wives, multiple girlfriends. So if I'm doing all this, I'm handsome, I'm college educated, I'm helping with the kids, why do these men get to have more fun than me and I'm doing more than they are? And so Martel had an axe to grind against Melody because she wasn't going to protect him from his own infidelity by way of acting like it didn't happen or wasn't happening. If you guys remember, Melody said that right before the show started, she found out that Martel was still seeing Ariane. So it was still kind of new and fresh, and she was traumatized by that because Martel kind of assumed that Melody would keep his infidelity a secret in order to protect their power couple brand. And he was wrong because, again, Melody knew that by exposing the affair on national television, it was not only forcing him to do right, it was also forcing her to hold him accountable for breaking their vows and disrespecting her. And so she did what was right for her. But what was right for Tisha was acting like Marsau wasn't a cheater. This does not vindicate Melody for me because I never believed Melody was lying. Martel said that Marsau had 20 girlfriends. I know he was exaggerating, but 20 usually means 1 or 2 or 3. It means that something is there. Something's happening. Where there's smoke, there's fire, right? And again, Melody said as soon as Martel started hanging out with Marsau, he started doing things that he wasn't doing before he was hanging out with Maurice and Marsau. And so I'm inclined to believe, because of all this information, that Marsau was cheating on Tisha long before the show started and long before, they met the Holtz. And so this does not make me feel better or happier. I'm not going to gloat about this and be happy about this because I don't like seeing any woman get played by a man. I don't like seeing this, period. Regardless of how I feel about Tisha and the way she treated Melody, she's still a human being. Okay? Over 2 years ago, I stated that I will only feel bad for Ariane. I will only feel sympathy for her once she realized that she threw her life away for a man who didn't even care about her. I wouldn't wish that pain on anybody. The pain of knowing that the person you're willing to ruin your reputation for, to have babies with, right? To put your life on hold for, this person don't even care about you like that. That's a very painful lesson for most women to learn. So I wasn't happy when I saw Ariane falling apart and going through a mental breakdown, right? Because at the end of the day, Martel still got away with being a player, a dog, and a cheater. And he was the one who brainwashed Ariane, or who lied to Ariane to convince her that, he wanted to be with her and not his wife. And so she fell for the okie dokie because she didn't like Melody anyway, because Melody was her enemy. I can see the humanity in somebody, regardless of whether or not I like them or what they do. And so I'm not happy about a Black woman being cheated on and played by her husband. That's not some sort of victory, especially since he's been doing it since before the show started. This information is not vindicating Melody for me because I never thought she was lying about it. And it's sad to see so many people celebrate a woman getting dogged out and cheating on by her husband just because she wasn't a good friend to somebody that they like. Again, I had an issue with Tisha because of the way she treated Melody. I said over 2 years ago, I believe the reason why Tisha could not extend any grace to Melody or patience to her or kindness during the divorce is because of guilt, due to Marsau having something to do with the infidelity in a way, helping Martel to cheat, and also because she low-key was competing with Melody and wanted to see her crown tilted a little bit. It made her feel better, right? You're not on your high horse anymore. You're not the belle of the ball, as Ariane would say. So Melody had a lot of haters, a lot of women who wanted to see her fail. I wasn't happy when Melody got played by Martel. I wasn't happy when Ariane got played by Martel. And I'm not happy that Tisha's getting played by Marsau. That doesn't make me feel good. It doesn't make me feel like I've won something or that Melody has won something, okay? I don't have to hate the other cast members in order to show support to Melody. That's not necessary. I can see the humanity in all the cast members. Tisha's a Black woman, just like Melody's a Black woman, just like Ariane's a Black woman. And these 3 Black women have an important story to tell. They share the same experiences. Even though Melody filed for divorce and Tisha is still married and Ariane's a side piece, it's still the same story. Women getting played and used by men. So I'm not happy about this for Tisha. I know she's hurting about it. I know she's embarrassed. And I don't think that this is a comeuppance for Tisha because she was going through this before she even met the Holts, in my opinion. She was going through this for years. And Marsau was a very crafty cheater. He wasn't somebody who was sloppy with it. He didn't have side babies all up and through YouTube and social media talking shit. He knew how to keep the women quiet and silent. And he did not allow the women to step to his wife the way that Martell allowed Arion to do to Melody. And so, this is not surprising to me. Hopefully it's not true, but I wouldn't be surprised if it were. And I'm not going to celebrate it. I'm not going to be happy about it. I'm not going to say good for Tisha. She deserves to get hurt and fucked over by another black man. Like, that's not a rewarding experience for me. I think in season 2 or 3, Marsau got a vasectomy without Tisha knowing, or he did it on the fly or on the quick. And I knew then that it was some stuff going on. I knew then. And again, this is why Martell kept saying he wanted Melody to be more like Tisha. Not in terms of business or intellect or even physical appearance. He wanted Melody to play boo-boo the fool like Tisha has chosen to do in order to keep her family intact. She's trying to protect her children by doing this, okay? And so I'm going to have empathy for her because, again, she's a black woman. And just because I've never been married before doesn't mean I don't know how to empathize with married women. Like, she's still a woman and a human being going through this. And I'm going to get more people in the comments saying, well, did Tisha have any empathy for Melody? Of course she did not, because she was jealous of her. But does that make her pain any less real than Melody's pain? Is Melody the only person on the show with feelings that deserve to be acknowledged? No, it does not. And so, I don't want us to celebrate the demise of another black relationship. I don't know if Tisha will leave Marsau. I think that she intends to keep this under wraps until she's ready to go. I think that she has been quiet about this situation for as long as she has because she's not ready to leave yet. And that's her prerogative. She's not a bad person for wanting to stay in a fucked up marriage. But I will say this. If this situation comes out and it's confirmed and Tisha says, yes, this is what happened, Marsau is going to continue to cheat and he'll probably be doing it more often. He'll probably get more bold with it. I remember watching Braxton Family Values and Evelyn, the matriarch of the family, she was like, do not ever confront your husband about cheating because if you don't leave, he's going to do it more because you're giving him permission to do it. If you complain about something and you don't change your behavior and there's no consequence behind that complaint, then you're condoning his behavior. So don't complain about it if you're not going to do anything about it. And I think that's where Tisha is. I think Tisha wants to keep the status quo. She wants to hold on to her husband, and she has the right to do that. I think that it is really messed up for Marsau to be putting her in a situation like this where she now has to choose herself and her dignity over the safety and security of her family and her own peace of mind. I hate when men do shit like this. Because now, the wife is forced to make a very difficult decision. Do I divorce this man who I love, who I have children with and a family with and resources and assets with to hold on to my integrity and peace of mind? Or do I stay to preserve the family unit, to make sure my kids are happy and they have both mommy and daddy at home and their mother isn't stressed out as a single mommy doing things by herself? Like, that's why I don't gloat when women get divorced. Yes, it sounds like, based on some of the content on my channel that I hate men and I hate marriage. I don't. I'm ambivalent towards both. I think that some people should be single and some should be married. I don't have an issue with marriage per se. But, if Marsau is doing this to Tisha, he's a fucking clown. He's a clown for doing this. And I honestly don't think that, he was the reason why Melody and Tisha had a falling out. I think that Tisha values the status symbol of being a wife. That's something that she holds dear to her. It's important to her. These are the type of women that men marry. Men prefer to marry women. Most men prefer to marry women who value the institution of marriage and the idea of marriage more than their individual sovereignty and their peace of mind. And that is where Tisha is. She's someone who values the idea and the institution of marriage more than her peace of mind. She's already parsed the data and determined that it is in her best interest and her children's best interest that she stayed married to Marsau. And that is her right to do that. That is her right to stay in an unhappy relationship. Nobody can force her to leave because that's what they want her to do. And again, I'm not going to celebrate a Black woman being taken advantage of and abused emotionally by her husband. That's not enjoyable for me, regardless of how they treated somebody else. And, I have the same energy for Tisha as I would have for Melody, as I would have for Ariane. They're human beings. They're women. They're Black women going through the same shared experience of dealing with fucked up Black men. And I'm not saying that all men are fucked up if they cheat. There's sometimes things happen. Sometimes women cheat. I'm not saying that. But damn, Marsau has been doing this for a long time. And I believe he's been doing it for a long time anyway. Because again, Martell talked about it years ago with the 20 girlfriends. And there have been rumors about Marsau being in the streets since season 1. Melody would not have brought that up out of nowhere. Okay, she may have not had evidence or proof, but more than likely she was trying to put Tisha up on game, because if my husband's out here cheating and he's best friends with your husband, more than likely he's doing the same thing. And as I mentioned over a year ago, Tisha wasted the opportunity to build a bond with Melody by sharing her own experience with infidelity regarding Marsau. And, if she had been more open about her experience, more than likely they would have had a better relationship. And I don't think that their relationship would have deteriorated the way that it did if Tisha would have shown more support towards Melody. But unfortunately, when you have women who are pick-me's, women like Tisha and Kimmy, who I believe are pick-me's, have a difficult time showing solidarity to other women who choose to buck the system of being in a marriage that is rife with infidelity and disrespect. I honestly think that Kimmy and Tisha had an issue with Melody exposing the affair. I don't think that they held Martell accountable enough for the way he was treating Melody as their friend. I would not have put up with that, period. I don't care how much I like somebody. I'm not going to let you disrespect my friend or someone I care about to that extent. Like, you're literally trying to drag this lady through the mud and destroy her reputation. And this is the mother of your children. And so it was nasty to see what Martell was doing to Melody. And Melody had no support from her so-called friends. And these are friends who, especially Tisha, who knew what it was like to be cheated on. But again, I'm going to get people in my comment section saying, how dare you have empathy for Tisha? Tisha is A, B, C, D, E. She's a devil incarnate. Because she had a falling out with Melody, she's the worst thing that ever happened in the history of mankind. I don't think that way. I don't think it's right to dehumanize someone, in a sense, or to devalue or dismiss someone's feelings and their pain because you don't like them as a person, or you don't like the way they treated somebody you liked. Like, you don't have to kiss Tisha's ass and you don't have to like her. Again, I would not be friends with Tisha in real life, to be honest. But I do want to acknowledge her pain. I do want to acknowledge her suffering. I don't want to gloat over that. That's not something to celebrate. And it's not really vindicating Melody, because Melody, I didn't see her as a liar in the first place. So Marsau's cheating scandal may have vindicated Melody to people who didn't really like her in the first place. That's fine. But I've always supported Melody. I've always wanted the best for her. And that's why I kind of give the advice that I do. But I don't think that I have to hate the other cast members to show support for her. That's some junior high school bullshit. Like, we're grown people here, and Tisha's a human being. She's a woman, and a Black woman with a family and children that are going to be affected by Marsau's bullshit. And I don't think that's funny or something to gloat about. And the same thing with Ariane. She needed to be called out for her behavior by the community because she was out of order. She was out of order completely. But that doesn't mean that I want her to suffer and be miserable, because she has 2 children to take care of her. So if her mental health is deteriorating and she's, emotionally destroyed, like, how is that going to affect her 2 young children? I'm always thinking about how these things affect the children. Forget the way we feel about the adults. Like, how is this infidelity going to affect their children, Marsau and Tisha's children? That's going to rattle their foundation. And it is what it is. I'm not going to celebrate this. It's unfortunate, but at the same time, I think Tisha's used to it by now. It's just that she's not used to the evidence and the receipts being put out there on social media, so it's more embarrassing for her. But if Marsau, did have a threesome with these other 2 women who weren't his wife, that's not going to vindicate Melody for me, because that was already a foregone conclusion, in my opinion. I assumed that Marsau was a prolific womanizer and a cheater. So that's not a big deal. And I really want to caution some people in the audience and some of the viewers about celebrating another woman's pain and trauma, even if she didn't show the same compassion for Melody, that's for her to deal with. But I'm not going to feel happy about a family potentially breaking up over this scandal. I don't know what Tisha's going to do, but whatever she chooses to do will be her business. Like, what do the people in the audience want her to do? They want her to leave her husband? So if she leaves Marsau, is that going to be another thing to gloat over? Another broken family to be happy about? See, you're not better than Melody. You're not better than Kiki. This is karma for you. I get karma, but I'm still going to feel bad. Like, you know, I know as a woman how it feels to be played and cheated on. Like, you can't act like that's not something that is difficult to deal with. I don't care who you are. And so, yeah, that's my perspective on it. So, you know, if some of the viewers in the audience, if they need me to turn the cast members into supervillains so that Melody can be the superhero, you're going to be disappointed, because that's not how I think. Everybody on this show is a human being. They're all parents. They're Black people. They're members of our community, right? And so they have a value, whether we agree with what they do or not. They're still human beings with emotions. And I think that this show had become so toxic because of the caricaturization of the cast members. It's like looking at 3D people with a 2D perspective. So if people don't like Tisha or Marsau or Stormy or Melody or Martell or whoever, it's like everything that they do becomes wrong or bad or negative. And that is the wrong way to think about things. But all right, guys, I'm going to leave it there. I look forward to reading your feedback. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will speak to you soon.